Quadratics equation, parabolas and other graphs, exam practice question 22. Graph the equation y equals 3x squared plus 10x plus 3. So the first thing I want us to think about here is our y-intercept, the easiest one for us to work out. The y-intercept is always c, and c is 3. Because when x is 0, everything else is 0 except for c. The next thing we can look at is our min and max. So that comes, and we can find that out through our a, and if our a is positive, it is a min, and our a is positive. The next thing that we are able to work out is our x-intercepts. So to work out our x-intercept, we can either factorize, or we are able to use the quadratic formula. So the first thing I'm going to do when I'm factorizing, I'm going to think about two numbers that times together to equal AC. So AC is 3 times 3 is 9. And then I'm going to look at, okay, what two numbers times together to equal 9 and add up to equal 10. And that is 1 and 9. So 1 and 9 add up to equal 10. So I'm just going to rewrite my equation using those amounts. So I'm just going to say y equals 3x squared. Now instead of saying 10x, I'm just going to say I've got plus 9x plus 1x, which is the same as saying I've got 10x, plus 3. Now, the next step is I'm going to look at the common factor, and my common factor I'm going to look at is my 3x squared and my 9x. Then I'm going to look at my x plus 3. So, the first thing I need to think about here is, I'll do it in green, my common factor is 3x. So if I've got 3x as my common factor, what is left? And that means I go 3x squared divided by 3x equals x. 9x divided by 3x equals 3. And I've got a common factor of 1. Just so it's easy for you guys to see, I'll put the 1 outside. Now, I've got x plus 3 as a common group factor. So if I take x plus 3 out, x plus 3 is being times by 3x, and x plus 3 was also being times by plus 1. Now, we know with our x-intercepts, we need to make y 0. So let's have a look at that part. To make y 0, both of our brackets must equal 0 at one point, which means x plus 3 and 3x plus 1 must equal 0. So to get x plus 3 to 0, x must be negative 3. To get 3x plus 1 to 0, I take 1 from both sides, and 3x becomes negative 1. I divide both sides by 3, and I get negative 1 over 3. So that is my x-intercepts, negative 1 over 3 and negative 3. The next thing I need to think about is finding my turning point. To find my turning point, I need to look at my equation. And the first thing I want to do is factor out my 3, so a is outside. So if I factor out my 3 from my a, I'm left with x squared. If I factor out my 3 from the 10, it's 10
divided by 3x. I'll leave a bit of space for now and put plus 3 and my brackets on the and my brackets in. So the next thing I think about, and I've left space for a reason, because what I'm wanting to do is think about what is half of b, half of BA. So that means I'm going 10 over 3 divided by 2. 10 over 3 divided by 2 is equal to 10 over 6. So that means I am going to be adding 10 over 6 squared and taking away 10 over 6 squared, because our C needs to be half of B and that number squared. So I'll take 10 over 6 squared. This helps me work this out because this tells me now that I'm going to complete this square, which means I've got x plus 10 over 6. I can change 10 over 6 to make it easier for myself by going 5 over 3. Squared. Now, one thing I want you to think about is I've got brackets, big brackets going around here and on this side, because I've still got my minus 10 over 6 squared or minus 5 over 3 squared. So I'm still going to put that in of minus 5 over 3 in brackets squared and plus 3 on the outside. So the first thing I would like to do is I'm going to look at my 5 over 3 and square it. So we know our rules that the power of 2 goes to the numerator and goes to the denominator. So 5 squared is 25 and 3 squared is 9. So that makes it easier for me because I can then take that away and I can then look at my next part. Now, the next part I want to do is times the 3 by what is in the bracket, and that will simplify it. So, that leaves me with 3 times the bracket of x plus 5 over 3 squared and 3 times negative 5 over 19, because it must times with everything inside that bracket. So 3 times 25 is 75 over 19. And I've got plus 3. Just to make that easier for me, I'm going to think of how many 19s are there in 75. And there is 3. So 75 over 19 is the same as me saying negative 3 over an 18 over 19. So if I've got negative 3 and 18 over 19 plus 3, that gives me negative 18 over 19. So this gives me my turning point. My turning point is my x must be negative 5 over 3 and my y must be negative 18 over 19. So let's see if we can graph all of our points now. So it says y-intercept is 3. My x-intercept is negative 3. So, negative 3, sorry. and negative 1/3. My turning point is x is negative 5/3. So close to negative 2, but not quite. And very close to negative 1y, but not quite. So from here, I should be able to graph because I've got my turning point, I've got my two x-intercepts, and I've got my y-intercept.